Welcome to Luscious Living, the podcast where personal growth meets wellness. Here, we talk about growth that feels nourishing, wellness that feels realistic, and habits that help you evolve without burning out. I'm so glad you're here. Let's grow together. Hello, welcome. This is a crucial episode that I'm thrilled has made your way to you. This is crucial because so many women go through this extreme dread of their body, of their hormone cycles every single month that takes up most of the month, and that can really impact relationships, career, day-to-day quality of life. And through my experience with my clients, sometimes even seeking help feels futile. And so this episode is designed to help you really understand what's going on in the brain. And I do actually want to educate you on some of those more clinical words, I want to say, because I want you to know exactly what's happening. And for that reason, so that there is a solution. I'm going to be talking about the food-based approach. I'm actually also going to be talking about acupuncture. We will touch on supplements as well. And it's really more so, what are the things that you can do starting today to have a better period, have a better month every single time? And it might take you more than a few days, maybe a few weeks to really start to notice the difference. But we are really going from a root cause-based approach. Now, PMDD is a real hormone-linked condition. It's not overreacting or a lack of willpower. And again, we're using food as a support, not a cure or a rule book. And the intention of this episode is to reduce symptom intensity where possible. That means stabilizing mood, energy, blood sugar, and we're looking at offering comfort, not perfection, okay? And I really want you to know that about yourself. And it's funny, I say that I am for, I navigate that realm as well in terms of comfort versus perfection, but we're in it together, right? And so because everyone's different, this is a podcast. Everybody is different. This is a framework, not a prescription. And medical care and mental health support are always important alongside nutrition. Okay? So keeping that in mind, I want to go into really what PMDD is as well. Some of these things you might have heard before, might have looked into yourself, and let's just kind of take it from square one. Okay? So PMDD, Premenstrual Dysphoric Disorder, it is a severe hormone-related mood condition. It's linked to too much or too little. It's not linked to too much or too little hormones, but heightened brain sensitivity to normal hormonal changes during the menstrual cycle. And I want to tell you about those hormones as well. So progesterone is going to rise significantly during the luteal phase. You might have heard of progesterone maybe during a biology class. Maybe you haven't yet, and that's completely fine. So again, I'm taking this from square one and we're building. And so in the brain, progesterone is converted to allopregnanolone, which is a neurosteroid that normally acts as a calming agent in the brain by enhancing GABA. So the GABA receptors, and this is the brain's main kind of anti-anxiety neurotransmitter. But in sensitive individuals, especially those with PMDD, the brain reacts differently to this increase of allopregnanolone, which actually causes anxiety, irritability, and depression instead of calm. And so this is often called progesterone sensitivity or intolerance. Then we have estrogen and the metabolite estradiol, and the sharp decline in estrogen during the late luteal phase, so just before you are menstruating, is believed to cause brain fog, affecting cognition and even memory as well. And so estrogen typically acts like a mood regulator by boosting neurotransmitters like serotonin, which is again a feel-good neurotransmitter, dopamine, your reward neurotransmitter, So its drop reduces these neurochemical protections. Okay. And so again, serotonin, it's not a sex hormone, but the levels in the brain influence the estrogen progesterone fluctuation. And then again, as we drop in estrogen, then we also trigger a serotonin deficiency. So then obviously that impacts mood significantly. So again, why is this happening? Now, or why is the sensitivity happening rather? So again, in some people's brains, GABA should calm the system down, but instead it feels like overwhelm or irritability, rage, anxiety. And then high levels of progesterone during the luteal phase also increase activity in the amygdala, which is the brain's emotional center. By the way, in couples, the female brain has a bigger amygdala. So we're always looking for more, we're actually like sensitive to threat more than our male counterpart. Surprise, surprise. And so this creates heightened vigilance. So it's like this looking for threat and then stress sensitivity. And then the prefrontal cortex, which manages emotional regulation, is unable to curb the increased activity of the amygdala in those with severe PMS symptoms. And then hormonal shifts can also trigger neuroinflammatory pathways, and when combined with serotonin changes or drops, exacerbate the symptoms. So again, I want you to know what's going on, even if it just seems like it's kind of a vague understanding, because I want you to be able to advocate for yourself and really understand what is happening and feel that sense of empowerment there. So again, as you know, the symptoms typically appear in the luteal phase. So right after you feel good, then the rest of the month, so about 2 weeks before your period typically, you might experience that, and then your mood typically improves after menstruation begins. I like to describe it as like a volcano that is just bubbling and boiling up, and then the menses feels like a relief. So common PMDD symptoms, again, not that you need me to tell you, but intense mood changes, irritability, anger, sadness, emotional overwhelm, anxiety, feeling on edge, low mood, hopelessness, loss of interest in usual activities or usual people, brain fog, difficulty concentrating, fatigue, bloating, breast tenderness, headaches. Again, these symptoms are cyclical and typically not constant. And how it's diagnosed is usually through tracking at least 2 menstrual cycles, noting timing, severity, impact on daily life, and your healthcare provider will note symptoms that clearly worsen before a period and then clearly improve once bleeding begins. And hormone tests can be used to rule out other conditions, but they unfortunately don't confirm PMDD on their own. So we're going to talk about the medical approaches. We're going to talk about lifestyle. This podcast episode is going to deep dive into nutrition, what you can actually do, and how to really support your blood sugar and your neurotransmitters, okay? And just really have that empowerment. And I want you to see firsthand, and please do send me a message, how you start to notice the symptoms shift after each week when you really apply this. Okay, so medical approaches usually can involve SSRIs, which are mood regulators. They might have hormonal therapies to stabilize cycle fluctuations, and these are always going to be prescribed through your doctor. Now, here is where I come in, and I really believe that both have such an important role together. So, nutrition. If we don't have this as the foundation, then we just kind of create other issues, I find, okay? So I really, really want to stress the impact of your nutrition. And I just want to say this really clearly. When I say nutrition, it doesn't mean eating a salad or eating a sandwich. Like, I really want to go into what are the types of nutrition targets you should be aiming for and some ideas. So first and foremost, we're supporting blood sugar. If we don't support blood sugar, then all day long and all week long, you're going through a blood sugar roller coaster. And we're going to go into that. we're supporting neurotransmitters. I also highly recommend listening to the podcast episode on how to eat for a good mood, because that episode goes into how to eat to support some of those neurotransmitters, like I mentioned earlier. We're also looking at gentle, regular movement, not doing CrossFit and crazy runs right now, prioritizing sleep, which is so key in today's day and age. It can be really hard. That's a whole episode of its own, which I have created. But sleep is a tricky one in our society. Nervous system regulation, also stress management tools tailored to the luteal phase. And then mental health support, therapy or counseling to build coping tools, reduce emotional stress, and really support self-compassion during those phases, which is probably the hardest part out of everything. So let's get into why food matters so much with PMDD. And I hope I've made myself clear that PMDD is not a personality flaw or a lack of emotional strength or bad PMS. It is a real condition with real treatment options, and getting support is not overreacting, it's healthcare. Okay, so why food matters so much? PMDD symptoms are closely tied to rapid hormone shifts, brain sensitivity to hormone changes, blood sugar instability, inflammation, and nutrient depletion. I have seen this firsthand how much it helps. And so food can help steady blood sugar, so having fewer emotional crashes, supporting neurotransmitters like serotonin, reducing physical symptoms such as bloating, headaches, and fatigue and cravings. So let's get into how you might want to start your day if you have PMDD. So what you want to prioritize. We have protein early in the day to stabilize your mood and your energy. So this could look like 1 to 3 eggs. This could look like you have some leftover chicken from the night before. It might look like tofu. It might look like beans with rice. You want to pair them together to make a complete protein. It might just look like right now, if you're not used to having breakfast, it could look like a handful of almonds or walnuts. It could look like having some tahini on toast and calling that a day right now. Okay, so I do want you to start with protein and something that is savory. Now, a lot of people are having yogurt with granola and berries in the morning, and I love that because it's protein rich. However, it is cold, which can make your digestive system feel sluggish right from the start, and it is sweet, which also is not ideal for blood sugar support, especially first thing in the morning. If you find yourself hungry and tired, maybe even an hour or two later, that's an example. So for example, and I am going to use this example because I have a lot of clients who go to Tim Hortons. So if you're going to Tim Hortons, I would go for some kind of breakfast sandwich, for example, or a wrap, something that has eggs. I'm not sure if you can double the amount of eggs, but you might want to do that. So that is an example, okay? And then I would not have an ice cap. I would not have like a vanilla coffee necessarily in the morning. If you really can, try to keep everything savory. And then when you do have complex carbohydrates, going for things like oats, toast, fruit, sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, really something that is based off of whole food. And then we also have healthy fats to support hormone signaling. This is so key. If we don't eat healthy fat, then we're not able to actually build on our hormones like estrogen, progesterone, like we talked about. And so that looks like avocado, looks like nuts, looks like seeds. I personally recommend, if you can even make your own trail mix of raw pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, you add some goji berries, some chocolate chips, maybe some Brazil nuts, whatever you like in there. Less on the dried fruit, then you are setting yourself up for success there. And I now really know, because of treating patients in acupuncture clinic, when you have back-to-back patients, it is actually impossible even to take a few bites of a sandwich or a lunch that you have prepped. So this is why if you have a Ziploc bag of seeds, if you have some energy bites, this is absolutely going to be key, okay? So again, why this matters is because skipping breakfast or eating something sweet early on can increase irritability, increase hunger, worsen anxiety, lead to energy crashes only by mid-morning. Okay, so now you have the afternoon. How do we support blood sugar now? So same thing. So we're looking for protein, we're looking for fiber, we're looking for colorful vegetables, we're looking for some fat as well. And what I love is also having some culinary herbs like dill, parsley, cilantro. They are also so important. So again, some foods also rich in magnesium and B vitamins, leafy greens. This could be spinach, this could be collard, kale, beans and lentils, whole grains. So I want you to think about, okay, what are some foods that you like? Let's say it's chili, it's soup, it's a sandwich, it is anything. It could be really anything. But what I don't want you to do is have a tiny little salad, or even let's just say I love a good sandwich, but if we are really looking to support your PMDD symptoms and take it to the next level, let's just say a Subway sandwich, if let's say you're having that every day, that isn't really going to cut it anymore. And I say that because, yes, we have some nutrients, but we want you to be eating targeted. So, for example, let's say once a week, twice a week, you have a Subway sandwich, or if it's from Tim Hortons, McDonald's, wherever you normally go. And then we are having, let's say it's a type of soup. It is a sweet potato soup. It's a chicken noodle soup. It's something that's hearty. It's a type of broth. And then I want you to make sure that you are having some kind of cruciferous vegetable. So I want you to Google that and find your favorite. And I want you to start to eat that every day, every second day. I promise you this is going to make a big difference because these vegetables start to work on detoxifying the liver, and we need your liver to have healthy hormones, to help produce healthy hormones as well. And so this could look like, let's say in the morning, ahead of time, you boiled 2 eggs. Honestly, this is what I do sometimes when I'm a busy student. I'll have 2 eggs. Maybe I'll just eat one of them and I'll have a pair with it. And then later in the day, I usually make some kind of stew, for example, or I will meal prep a bowl. And that's actually something I'd recommend, some type of bowl. You have your grain. I would recommend it with PMDD having barley or millet or quinoa. And then you have your desired protein. It could be beef shank, it could be chicken, it could be fish or shrimp or eggs again. And then having some type of, I like having 1 or 2 types of vegetables in there and at least a cup or more. Okay. That is it. And then you can have a little sweet treat with it. And we're going to get into snacks. So for example, this could look like having, energy bites. This could look like having, that's actually a great time when you have your yogurt bowl. Okay, that's a great time. So it's not first thing in the morning. You've already had a really, really good meal. We're looking at, could be a chia seed bowl. It could be, honestly, it could even just be some chocolate. I love having some chocolate chips with pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds. I find it really, really addictive. But the big thing is to have at least a moment for you to plan out, okay, what are the meals I need? What are the snacks I need? And I think that's where most people could use the most improvement. Is it just a little bit of planning? Maybe you meal prep twice a week. And I don't even mean, those typical kind of meal prep videos that we see of like the gym girl who's got all of her meals for the next 6 days. I also find that disgusting. I can really only eat the same meal for 2 days maximum, okay? But I always just have, I switch up the protein sources, I just switch up the grain, and a part of it is like, Celine, you just have to eat. Not every meal has to be for enjoyment. And then I'll have like my fun meals other times of the day. But usually, just to keep hormones happy, I will have that kind of more boring meal. Okay. Now, cravings. Cravings during PMDD are biological, not a failure. So again, if you're craving something sweet, it's typically because your digestive system needs a bit more support, or we need to have you eating more protein, or we need to have you eating more carbohydrates. It's really going to depend on your body. And this is why I love working with you one-on-one to really understand what you need. So sour can mean that you need a little bit more stomach acid. So having more, let's say you love sour candy, or dill pickle type chips, or like sour, like tangy chips, then we could look at, okay, maybe having some chips with your beautiful blood sugar balanced lunch. This could also look like having pickled vegetables, which I highly recommend. Making a girl dinner, having your, let's say you have some turkey meat, you have some cheese, you have some pickles, you have some chips, maybe you have some raspberries, cucumbers, what else? Anything like that. Like, have a girl dinner. I'm all about that. And then, what else is there? We have salty, again, same thing. It's your adrenals. So we want you to have more, perhaps seafood, celery, funny enough, as well. You can add sea salt to your water, add sea salt to your food. You actually want to have some good salt. If you're craving lots of cheese or ice cream, it's typically an omega-3 deficiency as well, and that helps to cool down the body. So the body is so smart, and it's not in your head. I promise you. It's just your body wanting to have some more support from you, and that's why that's why you're here, girl. Okay, evening, calming the nervous system. Highly recommend warm, comforting foods. Again, soup, stews, rice, roasted vegetables. Looking up some recipes that make you feel good. Let me know if you want some recipes as well. Foods with tryptophan and magnesium. So these are beans, seeds, whole grains, and check out that episode I made, as I mentioned. Again, gentle carbohydrates to support sleep. Have some homemade air fried hash browns with eggs, and if you want, banana pancakes with cinnamon, for example, right? So these will also help. I do find if I can't sleep before my period, having a little bit of something like cheese and pickles really helps as well. So the evening goals are to really signal safety to the body and support rest, not digestion stress as well. Okay, so not eating too much, which will happen if you haven't eaten enough during the day. That was always my biggest issue. Okay, so now we want to look at some foods to gently limit during PMDD, not necessarily eliminate, because I just don't think elimination is sustainable and it really works. So this is about awareness or not about strict avoidance. So caffeine in excess. Caffeine, again, you probably don't need me to tell you, but can increase anxiety, irritability, or sleep disruption. Highly processed foods, especially, let's say it's the donuts, it's the muffins, it's the juice, it's the pop, those kinds of things. Very salty foods, because those will increase your bloating and discomfort. And then skipping meals, which is one of the biggest PMDD amplifiers. And of course, alcohol, some of those typical foods, anything fried as well will make you feel sluggish. And so what I like to do, so if you crave burgers, which I actually highly recommend, a healthy homemade burger, you get some good ground beef, you get your buns, and then you have a homemade burger. And that's actually what we do all the time at home. Because I can't live without my burgers. It's just like you get like an iron-packed meal that's so satisfying. Okay, hydration. Again, this is so big. Dehydration can mimic fatigue, headaches, irritability. So I want you to have some herbal teas, some water, some soups, and fruit. Some herbal tea recommendations. If there's a flower called chrysanthemum, I want you to pick up some chrysanthemum and some rose, and I want you to get this in bulk, mix it together, and have this tea. It will help really calm the irritability, okay? And that's actually what I'm drinking after my coffee today. All right. I'm touching on supplements. I am not crazy about supplements, especially when the economy is not favorable. So I don't ever want anyone to waste their money. That being said, magnesium and vitamin D are crucial. If you're listening to this in the area of the world that I live in Canada, and I know there's a lot of people from different parts of the world, magnesium is typically depleted in our soil today because it's not put back in the soil to be replenished. That one I recommend if you're above the northern hemisphere, then vitamin D. Vitamin B6 as well is really, really important, but I want you to try to get that through food because taking a single B vitamin over time, such as biotin, actually will crowd out the other B vitamins. So really be careful if you are taking a biotin because, again, you might have less vitamin B6, which you need for progesterone production. The other thing is you want to be taking supplements with guidance from someone who is versed in it. A lot of people who study naturopathy or nutrition like myself will be much more aware, okay, of this. And then so that I really want to say a lot of people are taking ashwagandha and turmeric and these beautiful herbs, but they might actually not be right for your constitution. All right, last few things is acupuncture. Yes, so as you might know, I am a student of acupuncture in my 3rd year of 4 years. I want to talk to you about this because I have seen firsthand the benefits of decreasing the symptoms of PMDD. Okay, so PMDD, as we mentioned, is driven by how the brain responds to hormonal changes, not hormone levels themselves. And acupuncture is going to directly influence, it's called the hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis, so the relationship with all of them, helping smooth out the luteal phase drop in progesterone, modulating estrogen, modulating the sensitivity. And the studies show that acupuncture can help to support serotonin, dopamine, cortisol, and beta endorphins. So those are neurochemicals directly implicated with PMDD mood symptoms like rage, despair, anxiety, and emotional volatility. And then in TCM, we call it liver qi stagnation, transforming to heat or fire, sometimes layered with blood deficiency, which is low iron, or spleen weakness, which is digestive discomfort or digestive weakness, okay? And so acupuncture helps to restore proper signaling and flow rather than suppressing symptoms. Acupuncture also helps to calm the nervous system. And PMDD is more a nervous system condition versus a hormonal one. And many people who suffer with PMDD live in a chronic sympathetic or fight or flight state that becomes unmanageable during the luteal phase. That's basically the best way to simply say it. And acupuncture downregulates the sympathetic overdrive and increases parasympathetic tone, which is that rest and relax state, which improves emotional regulation, sleep, digestion, stress resilience, especially in that 7 to 10 days before menstruation. And this is why patients report feeling more like themselves after treatment or even before their next cycle. Then my favorite is herbal medicine. So again, what we do is because the herbal formulas that we give are constitution specific, cycle timed, and they're not for long-term use because we don't want you having to take something forever. It's really just to help you get your body back to balance. That's really what we're doing. And I have to say, we look at addressing the root cause and again, the modern day medication and acupuncture work together. And one thing is that SSRIs or the mood stabilizers and hormonal contraceptives will help with symptoms typically, but they don't resolve underlying imbalances. Why are we having poor estrogen detoxification, which I mentioned about the liver and cruciferous vegetables? Why are we having blood sugar instability, chronic stress depletion, post-pill hormone disruption? I know if you're listening to this, you also care about that. I want to know why you're having this and address it at the root, because sometimes we ignore again, but estrogen detoxification, blood sugar instability, and that causes us other issues, right? So if you are looking to have a root cause based approach, this is exactly exactly it. And I recommend working with your doctor to actually have both at the same time. Now, when acupuncture is done consistently, and herbal medicine, we don't just take the edge off. Over several cycles, many patients will have shorter and less intense PMDD windows, improved emotional stability across the cycle, better sleep and energy in the luteal phase, reduced dependence on medication. So PMDD is so very complex, but it's also highly responsive to systems-based medicine. And I just find that we need to take a approach to having an improved quality of life. And I will say, if the acupuncture piece is something that really fits you, while I am still a student, I would love to offer my listeners a complimentary acupuncture visit. It is 2 hours. It is in a student clinic, so there is sometimes supervisors, sometimes there are other students as well. Or when I am done school in about a year and a half, or having another lovely acupuncturist, but I do recommend having someone who has experience in that field, of course. So, that all being said, I recommend even listening back to this episode, taking notes, picking 1 or 2 things to really take away from this. Big thing is that blood sugar stability. That is absolutely key. I want you to be eating regular meals every 3 to 4 hours, or however often you get hungry. But if it's less than that, or you go longer periods without eating, I want you to just have small bites of something. Could just even be a protein shake with literally protein powder, and maybe you have some almond milk in it. Could be some walnuts. I want you to really take thing one step at a time. Okay, so it's not a personal failure to have this type of condition. It's a hormonal sensitivity that has solutions. It's not in your head, and you don't need to eat perfectly to deserve relief. The goal is to support softness, stability, and to support you. I appreciate you tuning in. I hope that you will share this episode with a daughter, a friend, a niece, someone that you know that has also been struggling with this as well. I hope it's been helpful, and I look forward to seeing you for the next episode. If this conversation added value to your world, I'd love to receive a 5-star review from you. It really helps to reach the right ears. For deeper dives and curated resources, be sure to check out the links below. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll meet you back here next time.